to order the special meeting of the Maine Township Board, this being Monday, November 4th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in accordance with Section 80-10B of the Illinois Township Code, 60 ILCS 1/80-10B. This meeting was called by Township Supervisor Laura Marask, and the agency funding meeting is to be considered for purposes of the agenda that you all have. Having called the meeting to order, if everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Leisha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Here.
Trustee Jones? Here. Trustee Matanzia? Here. Trustee Carabota?
Here.
Trustee Sweeney?
Here.
Austin Kelso?
Here.
Richard Lyon?
Here.
Mori Lachiski? Dana Lowe? Here.
And I think that's clear the one. I'm not sure.
Trustee McKenzie? She can hear me.
Trustee McKenzie's here.
Trustee McKenzie? Here. Right?
It is missing. All right, first order of business. Is there any public participation? Hearing none. We will call the first agency, Deputy Northwest Suburban.
We have Debbie Payne and Kate Etchie.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Debbie Payne, and I am the Program Director and Lead Teacher at the Northwest Suburban Daycare Center. And tonight I am here with Kate Etchie, our Executive Director. First off, I would like to thank Maine Township for the continued support of our program, as well as all of you for your time to be here this evening. We are proud that we have maintained a solid partnership with Maine Township for over 40 years. And for over 20 years, we have been a student government day site for the high schoolers to further demonstrate the value of Maine Township funding and the impact it has on a family's life. Currently, we have 22 children enrolled, and of those, 77% are Maine Township residents. We have 15 children on the waiting list who will be slowly integrated into our program based on classroom capacity, staffing, and Accelerate Illinois certification requirements. Our program may be small, but our impact on the community is large. As we near our 50th year of service to the community, our mission continues to be to provide high-quality, affordable childcare to parents with low income. Thankfully, we are still housed rent-free in the Cambodian Buddhist temple. We care for children ages 15 months to 5 years. We're open 52 weeks a year, Monday through Friday for 10 hours a day. Our curriculum provides each child with an open-ended, play-based learning, which allows for hands-on experiences, creative expression, and a firm foundation for success. Each day we provide a safe and loving environment, indoors and out, fun and educational daily lessons that are geared towards promoting the Illinois Early Learning and Development Standards, and 2 snacks and a hot, nutritious lunch, all prepared by our fabulous on-site cook each and every day. Now, I would like you to put yourself into the shoes of a young single mother. How would it make you feel to drop off your child who is excited about going to school, to staff who are warm and welcoming, to see changes in your child who sings songs at home tries to write their name, and talks about the library lady who visits each month. And to know that your child has a home-cooked meal each and every day. What a comfort all of this is to a working parent. Currently, 90% of our families are single mothers. And 100% of our families participate in the state's Child Care Assistance Program. Over the past year, we provided full-time child care to 28 Maine Township children, which was 74% of the total families served. We look at this as not only did 28 children receive quality child care, but also as 28 mostly single mothers were able to go to work each day knowing their children were safe and well cared for. Our parents need to be working or going to school full-time in order to qualify for the subsidy program. On average, our parents earn $11.35 an hour, or just over $23,600 a year. These are truly the working poor of our community. And with the help of the Child Care Subsidy Program, the average tuition for these parents is only $27 per week. And as an added benefit for the parent, last October, the state expanded the eligibility for the program from 6 months to 12 months. And this is a federal guideline that was established with the child in mind in order to provide better continuity of care. But unfortunately, the money we receive from the government for our services does not cover our daily costs. And this is why funding from local support, like Maine Township, is so desperately needed. In fact, as you read in our application for funding, after the state of Illinois, Maine Township is the second highest source of funding for our program. So on behalf of the parents, our staff, and most importantly, the children, we thank you for your tremendous support of our program. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
I have a question. Are you at full capacity right now?
No, we're looking at more 27 to 30, up to that. Our contract for the state is 27.
Okay, I'm sorry, and you're at what?
We're at 22.
Okay.
We have children on our waiting list, but we integrate them slowly.
I'm sorry, why do you have a wait list if?
Well, we just opened our third and last classroom. And so after the children graduated in August, then we had about 15 slots to fill. We were down a teacher the last time we spoke.
Ah,
Yeah.
so the capacity, in answer to your question, was 28, or what the state?
The state capacity is 27 for our contract with the state.
And we're at 22. And
Right.
do you anticipate, because you raised our request, which for however many years we haven't, and I'm not denigrating or anything, but what is the reason for that?
I was,
Last year we raised the request.
yeah.
This year we brought it back.
Oh, wait, 2019 says,
50,000 last year, this year.
I've got
55
55.
was last year.
50,000 this year.
That's not what ours.
Oh, sorry,
Right.
yeah. I always get confused.
Yeah, our sheet says 50,000.
I'm looking at last year, so you
It
went
was
back to
55
that.
last year.
Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
So when do you have, when are you planning on
Right.
having all of the children then in the classrooms, or the waiting list no longer being?
Without being
Yeah.
waiting list.
It would depend, right now we're, it's classroom size, and so we have to maintain staff, teacher-children ratios, but we're also part of Accelerate Illinois, which has some particular guidelines on how the ages of a classroom need to be. So right now, we're in a holding pattern until some of the kids get older before we can move them out. So it's a numbers game, it's an age game.
Thank you.
Note that your application indicates that you accomplished this with an executive director's position that's about $55,000 a year. And then you have a part-time program director for $30,000, a teacher assistant at $29,000, your cook's getting $28,000, and you have a teacher getting $26,000. I think it's quite commendable that you're being good with the funds here, doing the very, giving all this benefit to the community while holding down the salaries, which is something I'd like to point out.
I actually do agree with Trustee Caraboda, but I just wanted to ask, where is the money allocated? So if we have 22 kids for 42, if you can break that down, I'm sorry, for 50 meals. Is that the cost of the salaries of the teachers, of the food? I mean, it's a great program, and we've been funding it for a long time.
We've always had just one giant pot for the money. And so from that pot, we put everything that we did, donated or contracted with the state. And from that, so it's not really, we say that.
I meant ours.
Right, yours goes into the pot to help us, pay staff, purchase food, pay our utilities, and so on. So it's not like we take just Maine Township money and use it just for staff. It all
Oh, no,
goes through.
yet I think, what I'm asking is, basically for the public. So you have 22 kids, that we're servicing for Maine Township. Where do we arrive at asking for $50,000? Like, I don't have any problem with it. I'm just
We
trying to figure out where the number.
$9,000 short a month is what we come up from what the state provides us.
Okay.
So Maine Township's money, Elk Grove Township, everybody else, everything comes into the pot and all this pay.
And there was another thing that I thought was very good, that you do have other townships.
Yes.
And now, remember we've had the discussion, and then I'll stop asking and let other people, about, does Lutheran in general support you yet? I thought, I'm sorry, Northwest Suburban did, never mind. I'm thinking older adult services.
Generally, that's
Yeah, I'm like, okay, strike that. Okay, thank you. Trustee Sweeney.
Does the parent rate cover the deficit? That's one question. And second is, I noticed that the rate is $205 a week, but you had mentioned that the rate is $27 a week for the average tuition.
That was a private rates, the 205.
Okay, so
They didn't
you're just
qualify.
comparing to that. That's not your private rate?
That is our private rate if they didn't qualify for the subsidy program,
Okay, and didn't you say 100% qualified?
Right.
for the subsidy program.
Okay.
So we don't charge anybody.
Right.
205.
Okay, so this is really almost irrelevant. Well, I guess at this juncture it's irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant if people who qualify or don't qualify.
Right.
But you have such a demand for those that qualify that,
Right.
and is the qualification based on like percentage of poverty level, 203%?
Family size and income.
Yeah, right now
Is
they're
it poverty level or is
200,
it?
I think they're
200%?
225, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact number.
But it's over 200%?
It's over 200% up from
Of poverty level,
Mhm.
okay, so you're really servicing the truest of needy. The last question I had was about the 48,000 that you referenced, that you don't have to pay for rent, but yet you noted it as an expense on your in-kind budget income. So do you pay that?
No, it's also
You just put that aside?
income, and it goes out as, it's on both income and.
Oh, it's on
expenses.
both, okay.
Yeah,
So it's,
we've been advised to keep it in there,
It
just so
zeroes
people
out.
understand that,
you're getting a value that
Right.
you don't actually pay for. Okay.
Right.
Because didn't you say you're trying to build 600,000, you're trying to, on a go-forward basis, you're going to have to build, and when will that happen? And what will be built?
in addition to the building.
Yeah.
Where we currently are, onto the classrooms that we have right now. And there's been no timeline set, the Buddhists have been very patient.
They have an expectation that in the future that will happen?
Yeah. Yes, they have their grand plan of the whole area
Yeah.
is quite extensive.
Yeah, I can remember you weren't sure last year if you were going to have to pay, but that's a good thing, and you're okay for next year too, and you don't know about the year after? or
Yeah.
You're kind of living year to year? Okay. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Great job. Thank you
Thank you.
for having done a great job. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Next is, which will be introduced by Chris.
We have Greg Peterson and Corey Larson.
Good evening, everybody. How you guys doing? My name is Greg Peterson. I am Glenkirk's CEO, joined by Corey Larson, who I think everybody here knows. She's our Director of Community Relations. And wanted to thank you all, similar to the last agency, and their great presentation for not only the multiple decades of your support for our mission, but for your time and attention this evening. So this is my first time talking to you all, and I just want to quickly thumbnail. I know you guys know Glenkirk, you've supported us for many, many years, but I just want to thumbnail who we are today and how it relates back to when we were founded in 1954. So despite the fact that you guys are longtime Glenkirk supporters, does anybody know how we got our name? So it's not named after a scotch or a golf course. Our founder's name is Lucille Kirkpatrick, and she had a son who happened to have a developmental disability in the 1950s. Back then, the IDD kind of classifications, medically speaking, didn't even really exist compared to what we see today. And so the doctors told her the best option we recommend is to send him away to an institution. And back then in 1954, she said, this is simply not good enough. I'm going to do better. My son deserves more. He deserves a great quality of life. So what she did is she founded Glenkirk in the basement of a church in Glenview. So you take the Glen from Glenview and the Kirk from Kirkpatrick, and here we are today, 65 years later. Excuse me. We're very much seeing through Mrs. Kirkpatrick's vision from the dark days of disability services in the 50s. Back then, her son was literally segregated from his community, and she said, we can do better. Today, in 2019, we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. And the institutional problem, frankly, is still our #1 challenge in the state of Illinois. You guys might have read recently the Center for Disability Services nationally just issued a new report that raised Illinois in the national rankings from 48th to 44th, which is certainly damning with faint praise. And the reason that we're still so terribly low is that we have the 3rd largest population of institutionalized people with disabilities in the state, in the entire United States. We have about 1,600 people. That is a factor of 5 over any other state in our region. And from a cost perspective, everything that we get, we're a Medicaid, basically a Medicaid-funded shop licensed by the Department of Human Services. And the state pays about $228,000 for every resident that is in one of its now 6 state institutions. And we receive an average of about $60,000 annually to serve one of our individuals in community settings. And that community residential is the #1 largest aspect of our services, in that we currently have 20 residences spread all over, going as far south and west as Elk Grove Village, as far north and west as Grays Lake, and we've got a couple properties in the North Shore. In addition to our residential services, which supports about 110 individuals, we also have a day and employment services group, which is really why we're here talking to you guys about your support tonight, because we serve another 110 individuals from an intermediate care facility called Gulfview Developmental Center. It's best compared to a nursing home that happens to specialize in the needs of people with developmental and intellectual disabilities. And those individuals come to Glenkirk for their day and employment services. And the dollars that we receive in request from the township specifically support enrichment and community activities for those folks. Now, we have our longtime partners with Gulfview. They're on Gulf Road, just west of Milwaukee, and they do a great job of serving their individuals, but it is a larger congregate care facility, and so when their individuals come to Glenkirk for day services, it's an opportunity to get integrated with their communities, and we take our mission very seriously and help their individuals further connect with the communities in Northwood, where we provide the majority of our services to these folks. And those services actually resulted in a really, and again, I'm biased, but I think a wonderful success story in that there's a gentleman named Keith, who we've served Keith for probably 20 years. He's lived with Gulfview for his entire adult life. The state of Illinois is his guardian. He has no living and remaining family members. Last November, actually I think almost exactly a year ago, I stand here before you, we were able to move Keith out of his 125-person institutional setting into a brand new 2-person residence that happens to be in Elk Grove Village. So he ended up moving outside of the township's 4 walls, but the community and enrichment support that the township has provided to Glenkirk allowed us to help Keith connect with his community and get his skill and comfort level to the point where he was able to now live in a 2-person setting with basically a foster style host, and he's thriving in the community thanks to the support that the township provides to Glenkirk and that we're able to deliver and translate into impact for the individuals we so proudly serve. So I just wanted to share that story because it's really remarkable, and there are literally 107 other stories of individuals similar to Keith, the folks that we serve, but at the end of the day, again, similar to Mrs. Kirkpatrick's vision in the 50s, we help our individuals imagine their best lives, explore what's around them, and then ultimately connect with their community. So again, on behalf of Glenkirk, our board, and those who we serve, we wanted to thank you for your support and see what kind of questions we can answer this evening.
And Elk Grove, did you say?
He just moved, yeah.
So the move was to Elk Grove?
Yeah, exactly.
Will you remind, and you may not be the person to remind me if this is your first year, why didn't we go to 0 in 2007? It's on, did you guys remember? I think maybe you got it in late or something. I mean, I've been.
That could be the case. I've been part of the Glenkirk family for the last 2.5 years. I was unable to make the meeting last year due to a schedule conflict. My apologies, but Corey was around, do you recall?
I'm sure it was a
I was an administrator there on our behalf.
So my questions are, I see that you have these smart homes.
Yes.
I'd like to know what they do. That's sort of, I mean, I just started mine.
Oh,
But
very good.
like, are they geared towards the disability, you know?
Absolutely.
So tell me what they do.
Sure. So we have 2 smart homes that are currently online, and we've actually just recently obtained funding to bring, and we're not opening brand new residences. I want to be clear, what we're doing is we're installing smart home technology in our existing homes. So we have funding now for home number 3 and 4. But what we've done is we've actually partnered with Google's smart home team, and we're deploying kind of commonly available technology in the form of individual devices, smart lighting in the home so individuals have control over their environment. Of course, all of the entertainment related toys in terms of televisions that are smart and things of that nature, video doorbells, thermostats, things like that. And when I talked about our Imagine, Explore, Connect philosophy, a lot of it has to do with helping our individuals have their own voice and find their own way. And what we found is that by putting technology tools in their hands, it gives them one step further control over the environment around them. Now, the first home that we opened is really interesting. The individuals who live there have a genetic condition called Prader-Willi, which they're
What's it called?
Prader-Willi, P-R-A-T-E-R-W-I-L-L-I, and it's basically the body never tells the brain that it's satisfied food-wise. So there's always an extreme sense of hunger. And so in their home, the kitchen was always a point of conflict. These individuals are constantly engaging in food-seeking behavior, tend to be very cognitively skilled, and so a lot of kind of plotting and scheming and conflict and stealing around food. So in the smart home, what we were able to do is install a smart refrigerator in that kitchen so individuals can, and every one of the folks who lives here has a behavior plan that helps modify and mitigate the food-seeking behavior. And what we're able to do is use technology to kind of break that circuit, as it were. And instead of having the kitchen be a source of conflict around food, it became a source of engagement. I can go and talk to the fridge, ask it questions, see what's going on with the menu, help my staff cook, help my staff shop, go from there, and now it's helping me, with the support of my behaviorists and the rest of my clinical team, kind of transform the maladaptive food-seeking behavior into something that's more productive and again allows me to stay in my home and live a life in the manner of my own choosing.
They're just really cool. and having been a recent convert to Alexa master bedroom on, so
Yeah.
I'm not tripping over.
The biggest challenge
And my
actually.
refrigerator talks to me as well.
There you go,
Like,
there you go.
It doesn't talk to me, but
Yeah.
that's my tech guy laptop.
Yes.
But
Actually, the
it
biggest
does tell
challenge.
you, it issues you alerts.
But the biggest challenge is getting our staff comfortable with it. Our individuals actually took to their new set of tools very quickly, and it was getting the staff as comfortable as quickly was a surprising challenge that we didn't expect to face.
So how many, I noticed there's a couple of things that and I'm very appreciative that you've always been 5,000, you don't, ask for more than you need. You have a fairly large budget. So I saw that you have the home in what's it called, Gulfview?
Yeah, Gulfview Developmental Center on.
Yeah, and then the other one was Tinley Park. Is the Tinley Park? I see that in your application. So I don't want to fund the Tinley Park.
The
I
Tinley
mean, no
Park
offense.
must be a typo in the application. I apologize. I personally edited it, but yeah, we have no service footprint in that area. So if that was somehow snuck its way in after my final edits were done, I apologize for that. But the way that we use the township's funding is it supports 100% of the needs of the individuals
That was my question.
here in the township.
Okay.
Not one penny of your support goes outside the township's four walls.
Okay, so that was actually my question, because there is somewhere on Tinley Park. Yes.
St. Coletta's, it's
Yes, St. Coletta's.
on page 6.
Yes, those individuals are similarly grouped in terms of having a similar kind of residential setting to the individuals who are here in Des Plaines. So I think we're making the point that we serve folks from a lot of different backgrounds and service intensities. But this support is primarily focused on the needs of the individuals at Gulfview Developmental Center.
We need it to be 100%.
No, understood. That's guaranteed. Yeah.
Those were my questions. Trustee Sweeney.
So you still have, you've got 11 of 22 residential sites that have been renovated, or started to be renovated, so you still have a lot of
Yes.
work on that? Is that-
Actually, that
is
number.
the smart homes in that?
Well, the smart homes are in there, and so we've touched 11 of our 22 homes, and actually where we stand right now as November 4th, 2019, there's only one that's left. So the 11 of 22 are ones that we've renovated. Then we actually partnered with a group called the Illinois Facilities Fund, or IFF, and what they did is they offered us a really attractive lease-to-purchase program. We were able to sell some of our more highly homes where the deferred maintenance burden was greater than the cost to significantly greater than what it was worth to rehab the home. So we ended up selling homes and then getting brand new homes from IFF. So that's a total of 5 additional homes. Then there are 3 new homes that we just got through a state Illinois Housing Development Authority program, which is actually where Keith moved to. So if you do the math on it, 11 of the homes we've renovated, another 8 we basically replaced using other people's money, and that leaves 2 left. One of them was beautiful to start, and the last one, we are literally going to move individuals out, hopefully by December 1st, and then go in and rehab that, and then we will have literally rehabbed or replaced 100% of our residential capacity. Well, it's a matter of quality of life. Again, we don't see them as homes, we see them as therapeutic environments for our individuals, so we really are proud of what we're doing to accomplish.
I just complimented you on keeping your requests, and you doubled it. So
Yes.
Can you tell me, because I still haven't gotten answers.
That's okay.
What's the reason?
The reason is that our services continue to get more costly. So the group that was up before us talked about their starting wage of their primary caretakers was at $11.35. The state literally funds us below the county's minimum wage right now. And so we are doing everything in our power to basically scratch and claw just to keep pace with not only the economy around us, but the state and county minimum wage laws. So what's happening is that we have extreme cost pressures primarily on our direct support professional wages right now. And so we're looking to our community partners such as the township, and we're increasing our requests across the board because the state is simply not doing its part.
Did you request? I said, did you request it?
Of the state?
Yeah.
The state,
Because they were
that's,
giving out
I like to-
grants.
that's like a smart person question that you asked, and the state doesn't really answer those questions in that way. Our rates are set by the state's Medicaid system. So we literally don't set our prices. It's a fee-for-service arrangement. And what the state did this year, and this is gonna be really boring, I apologize, but it's gonna get around to your point eventually, in that the governor signed into law a 3.5% rate increase for us. The first rate increase we've gotten since 2008. In the metro area, costs have gone up 18% since 2008. So 3.5% is better than nothing, but it's still borderline insulting. Signed it into law effective July 1st. Let everybody know, here are the new rates, published them. On July 26th, sent a mea culpa memo out to all agencies saying, we misfiled the paperwork with the feds and we don't know when that increase is actually going to come through. And today is November 4th and it still hasn't happened. So, you know, with friends like these.
They actually admitted they misfiled the paperwork.
Oh yeah. Now, what I will say is the new administration is more transparent and more aligned with our needs as a provider group than their predecessors, but they're having to undo a lot of damage. And again, we appreciated their transparency, but the question remains, you know, I was trying to use that to pay my folks, and it's, you know, full 4 months later, there's still nothing, and it's getting closer. That's the word from the DHS director most recently, but still no date certain.
And I just want to verify, you have 127 clients, Maine Township clients that are in the Des Plaines Gulfview home?
Yes, so it's Gulfview is actually a separate residential service provider from Glenkirk. They are a large congregate care facility, and almost all of their residents come to Glenkirk for day and employment services. And so that's, the township's money allows us to enhance those services well beyond what the state supports with its rates to, again, build skills and provide community access and activities for those individuals.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
And next, fish. They generally need no introduction, but yes.
Ed Oken and Jerry Payne.
Step right up. Sorry, I just wanted to know why you didn't ask for more.
Good evening, board members. I'm Ed Oken, president of Fish of Park Ridge. My associates, Jerry Kenny, our treasurer. Both of us are officers and volunteer drivers. Jerry and I have been with Fish for 16 years. Fish's mission is to provide free transportation for medical and dental appointments to residents of Maine Township and Park Ridge within those boundaries. Fish of Park Ridge was founded in 1971. Yes, it's 48 years ago. And organizations such as Maine Township, that Fish has been able to provide free medical transportation to those needing rides to doctor and dental appointments for 48 years. Maine Township began providing administrative services in 2006, and many Fish telephone volunteers retired, and Fish was near ceasing operations. We had to shut down services for about 6 months until, except for dialysis patients, and then we were saved by Fish Township. The past several years, we have not been getting the volume of clients that we had earlier. In fact, last year, we only had 875 rides. Normally, we have about 1,200. So we continue to seek out new clients by running ads in the various community publications. We also receive referrals from the township and through mainstreamers. We moved away from using the fish logo that we had in the past and emphasized friends indeed, serve and help. This change provided clearer identification and understanding of our goal of free medical transportation. We project over 1,500 rides for the current year. This large volume has been processed admirably by the fish coordinator, Branka Mekvik. She also received many compliments from our clients. The rides have been done by our current 19 volunteer drivers who are usually retired and whose average age is 75 years. So we have seniors helping seniors. The average time a driver spends with a client is about 3 hours, besides the use of their car and the upkeep. FISH is a true not-for-profit charity, like charities of old. It is an all-giving group with no salary overhead. All the monetary help we receive from the township goes directly to our clients. Yes, we do have a gas card subsidy program for our drivers who perform 6 or more rides in a month, giving them a gas card value of $20 to $30, depending on the number of rides. We are all grateful for the help we receive, because without it, we could not exist. Are there any questions?
Well, you're my favorite. I mean, you're just like a miracle. But why didn't you ask for more, is my question, number one. And I know in the past, we had like talked about, like, we couldn't advertise if you didn't have, remember, you needed volunteers. So
Right.
I'm glad is 19 enough?
No, 19 is not enough. We lost 3 or 4 of them, a couple of them passed away, others moved out of the area, and we've replaced those, but we should be, I'd say, up probably about at least 22. So we continue to work on that constantly.
You're the epitome. Total budget's $8,900. All right. So we did discuss, I'm sorry.
No.
All right, we had discussed it last year, helping. Do you want more rides or do you want more volunteers? I mean, we can put it in maybe.
Well, we like both.
Right.
We accomplished remember last year, and as I said, we were way down. So we got over that hump, so we accomplished one part of it. The getting more rides, and they continually to come in. In fact,
Oh, we have a need. There's definitely a need.
yeah, this afternoon I received 2 of them, the paperwork on them. So that part of it is accomplished. The rider part is an ongoing thing, that slowly people come from different areas, communities.
Where do you advertise to get drivers? How do you get drivers?
I'll tell you, one of the places was in the Maine Township.
Okay.
And
The newsletter.
Yeah, the Maine Township newsletter,
Okay.
and the other newsletters that other communities have, or did we do the mainstreamer? I don't know.
Mainstreamer.
Yeah,
We also send notices to the churches within Display and Sand Park area, indicating what our services and also the need for volunteer drivers.
Okay. And because I am luckily late on my Maine news, letter, which I will feed this, but do they apply, or is there an application, is there, I mean, I assume they need to have a driver's license and all that good stuff. Anything else I need to say?
The ads indicated to call me. And then we set up an appointment with them, visit with them, have them fill out an application, check their credentials, and then answer all their questions and go through, you know, the whole procedures and what their responsibilities would be.
I'm gonna get you some drivers.
And what would be the phone number? That's 696-0761?
That's my home phone.
Also,
Oh,
thank you.
seriously? You want me to put your home phone in the Mainly News?
Yeah, it's okay.
You don't want me to use Broncos at the township?
Well, it's just another step to go through.
Yeah, I know, but, okay.
No, but I do want to commend you for the great
Yeah,
work you
no,
do.
just-
Thank you very
For
much.
so many years,
Really.
really appreciate your.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you refresh my memory, the CD, I remember we talked about this before, that you have as an expense was $10,000 and then it went to $2,900 and now it's
Jerry, you
$2,700.
interested about the CD?
The CDs, actually, that is one of the reasons why we haven't asked for an increase in our grant monies. We do have, you know, a reserve fund,
Right.
and if we get a surplus, we move that into the reserve fund.
And I remind me, because that's a good point you, Trustee Srini brings up. What's the amount of the CD?
We got from 2 years ago, we got a $10,000 grant from, what was it?
That's it?
Yeah, grant from,
It was 5,000.
Century.
Yeah, $5,000.
Pardon me?
Really? You can ask us for more, I'm sorry, I
That,
don't generally say that to an agency.
we can't ask for more?
Can.
You
We can't ask for more.
We can, but
We didn't.
it would go into the reserves.
Oh, so
Because our budget, you know, is, because we're an all-volunteer organization, we have a low budget.
Well, if we get you more drivers, then you have more gas expenses and more.
Actually, that would go down. Because the more drivers we have, the less gas cars.
That's the way true
And we need
charities
you to
work.
teach
That's the way true
us.
You
charities work.
said you're like.
I'm with the Knights of Columbus. I know exactly what you're saying.
No, I do,
Right.
it's just,
God bless you. Great job.
Thank you so
we're gonna
much.
need you to teach.
Beg pardon?
I said, we need you to teach agency fund. You're like, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just, so don't mind me, I'm giving you more of it. Yeah.
Well, you know, we're unique. We're different than I'm sure anybody that
You are.
comes in here. Because you don't have an all-volunteer organization.
Right.
You got
Right.
staff, paid staff.
Ever consider, you know, maybe taking a small stipend for, I don't know,
Just keep doing what you're doing.
just feel bad.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and next is Children's Advocacy Center. Chris.
Mark Carr.
He needs an introduction. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Very tough act to follow. My name is Mark Parr. I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center in Northwest Cook County. The center just celebrated, I think its 30th anniversary, and we provide comprehensive services for children who have been identified as possible victims of sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, or victims or witnesses to other crimes. And we are seeing a really significant increase in children being referred because they have witnessed either domestic violence or other crimes, certainly more so than in years past. It's part of the reason I think our numbers have increased so dramatically. For Maine Township residents, went from 81 children being served through our investigative program and therapy services to 104 last year, so about a 28% increase. But even across the agency, we were seeing double-digit increases, and the number of interviews that we're doing in a year during these investigations has gone over 700. So that it's pretty significant in that way. Our advocates provide a great deal of crisis intervention, ongoing support. They do accompany families to court as a support person should the case go into either the criminal court system or the civil court system, and the family would like to have an advocate, a support person with them during that whole process. And then, as I mentioned, we do provide therapeutic services, individual, family, and group therapy services. We're very much focused on trauma. There's no limit to the number of sessions that children and families can participate in, and like all the services at the agency, those are free to families. We do provide services in English and in Spanish, and there's a significant need certainly for those services for the communities that we serve, including some of those in Maine Township as well. The two newest things, or most significant changes, we did start for the very first time a prevention program. We're working with the Early Childhood Developmental Enrichment Center in Palatine in 6 of their classrooms, doing a 7-session body safety and abuse prevention workshops for the children. But we've also done those for the parents and for the staff, so that there's a consistent message being given to all those children about how to help encourage them to use the skills to keep themselves safe, but also to get their parents very involved. Ultimately, we believe it's the adult's responsibility to keep kids safe, but we want to arm children with as many skills as we can. So that was done for the very first time in the spring of 2019. Was very well received. We're back in the classrooms again this fall, and we've even added a couple of additional classrooms, half-day classrooms, that we're working with this fall. We have officially expanded our Safe from the Start program to serve communities in the North Suburban area, so we definitely touch on some of the Maine Township communities. This is a program specifically for younger children, birth through 5, who've been exposed to violence. And so we provide some very intensive therapeutic services for the child and parent, hopefully to try to help them kind of get back on course, because we know so much more now about the impact of just observing, witnessing, experiencing violence in the home, and how detrimental that can be to the child's development. So those are the newest things. We're basing those particular services, the expansion of the Safe from the Start program for this area, out of our counseling office in Evanston, but we also do a lot of in-home or in-community work for those families who can't get to us otherwise. The whole key to that program is really the flexibility and really being able to try to meet clients exactly where they're at. So we've used community centers, schools, even police departments, other places where families can get to safely to offer some of those services. Most do come into the office, but there are many families who are very limited by transportation or the responsibilities of caring for a number of young children. So we try to make sure to eliminate as many obstacles as we possibly can in providing those services. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the agency or what we propose.
You did great work. Are you completely separate now from the other one? The Children's Advocacy Center in Chicago?
Yeah, we've always been separate.
Right, I get a little, it used to, I thought there had been a connection or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope. You know, we all, certainly all the centers that are in Cook County work very closely together, because there are 3 other suburban centers besides ours, and then the Chicago Center. But we're all independent of one another when it comes to structure and background. Some of them are hospital-based. We're independent, 501c3 as Chicago is. So it's just different models, but the core services are the same, and we work under the same protocol.
I think that's great. Alright, and so we have 108 unduplicated Maine Township.
Right, 108, that includes a few clients in the Safe from the Start program, 104 through the 2 primary programs that we call.
Excellent. This side, the remarkably quiet side. This side. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the next people here? I think we're in. Just kidding.
Go ahead.
The harbor?
When you're ready. There'll just be one more. We have Terry Shevchuk and Jessica Wright.
Thank you. Hi.
I've got a cold, so I'm just giving you a warning.
Mine's are over there.
Good evening. My name is Terry Shevchuk. I'm the Government Grants Manager with the Harbor, and with me this evening is Jessica Zimmerwright, our Program Director. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Maine Township for your partnership over the years. I think you've been a supporter of ours for over 25 years, so we certainly do thank you for that. As you may know, the Harbor provides emergency shelter, transitional housing, and supportive services to homeless youth in the north and northwest suburbs. We've been in the community for over 45 years, and today we provide services to youth through 3 core programs. Our emergency shelter provides short-term shelter, crisis intervention, and case management to girls ages 12 through 20. These girls come to our shelter after being locked out or running away to escape severe family dysfunction, parental substance abuse, or mental health issues. Crisis intervention successfully reunites many minor youth with their families, but when this isn't possible or safe, we work with the youth to locate another safe placement, which could be our own transitional housing and our youth and transition program. We have 2 phases in our youth and transitional housing program. Phase 1 provides supervised group living in a home-like setting to girls ages 16 to 23 as they finish high school, work part-time, making 65% of their earnings, and learn skills to live independently. Most youth transfer to phase 2.
Actually, what was the ages for the youth in transitional?
16 through 23. Most youth will transfer to phase 2 during their last 6 months in the program, which provides a declining rent subsidy to youth as they live in their own apartment. Similar to phase 2 of our youth in transition, our Successful Teens Effective Parents program provides specialized supportive services and a declining rent subsidy to pregnant and parenting youth in their own apartments. Most of what I've mentioned so far revolves just around housing, but the Harbor is really a lot more than that. In addition to a safe place to live, we're a place to find support, learn, and grow. Many of our youth haven't had positive role models when it comes to money management, and a great number of them are in need of credit repair and budgeting assistance. We provide an 8-hour curriculum on financial literacy to youth with groups throughout the year on topics like money or credit management, identity theft, banking, and tax prep and filing. Staff helps youth develop a spending plan each week and provides monthly coaching around budgeting and saving. We monitor the youth's credit scores monthly and help youth build and repair their credit. Our CPA accountant teaches a session on tax prep each year. Last year, we launched a Harbor 24/7 initiative, which leverage technology in order to increase awareness and utilization of our services. And as a result, our shelter had a 135% increase in utilization last year when compared to the historical average for the prior 10 years. We also lowered our barriers for service, and as a result, we've not only increased our utilization, we're also seeing youth coming to us with much more complex traumas. Our goal is to ensure that we're accessible to the hardest to reach youth populations. In terms of our service to Maine Township residents, in our last fiscal year, we served 19 residents from Maine Township for 1,422 cumulative days of care, with our average day of care costing $216 and with no fees at all being charged to youth. This amounts to over $300,000 worth of services to Maine Township clients. Our goal is really to intervene at the beginning of a youth's housing instability and guide them along the path to long-term, stable housing as adults. And we believe this has not only short-term benefits, but long-term benefits to society as well. We're so grateful that we have the opportunity to apply once again. Thank you very much.
You had mentioned 65% that they pay, they have to do. So do they contribute, you don't charge for that every day of care is $216. Do they make a contribution to you then for the other 35% or?
No, so they will save 65% of their earnings at a minimum.
Yeah, so we ask every youth in the program to contribute 65% of their income to a savings that they have with their bank or with the savings that the harbor keeps for them. And we monitor that through getting paycheck stubs, bank statements, things like that to ensure that they are saving. One of our success stories that we've had this past year, we actually had 2 sisters who came to us at about a month in between. They didn't know that each other was there, but they had been living in a vehicle with their mom and 2 brothers. So they came to us separately. The oldest sister came to us first, went to her own, went to our transitional living program, and then the 17-year-old sister came after and went to that program as well. So she is one of our huge success stories and is also on track to purchase her own condo by spring 2020, which is huge because she's 20. She's a full-time student and has had 2 to 3 part-time jobs the entire time she's been with us. And her younger sister graduated early with honors at her home high school. And we actually brought her in August to St. Louis University, where she got a scholarship for the 5-year pharmacy program. So that's one of our huge success stories. And they're both doing amazing, so.
Very impressive. And you never, can't keep your funding consistent. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of expansion in the last year alone. So we've been able to really hire towards the needs of the youth. So we just last week hired a therapist who will be starting next week or the week after. We hired a transitions coordinator who's working with them to, it's not hard for them to get employment, it's hard for them to maintain, so helping the youth maintain employment. And we also hire a part-time nurse who is kind of on call for any of those issues that they may have and think they need to go to the emergency room. So really teaching them to use the resources that they have and not abuse other resources.
Do you allow re-entry for those who leave but are still struggling afterwards?
Yes, we do. The only reason we would not is if there was a weapon involved or physical aggression.
Oh, what? What was the second one?
Physical aggression. So if they assaulted someone or staff.
So will your new facility hold more people?
The new facility will be a lot better in the sense that there are 2 wings. So one wing will house minors, one wing will house 18 and up. Right now, the number 1 youth that we cannot serve is a mom with a baby. And there will be a mother and baby room in the new facility, which will really change the dynamics of that as well.
So the new facility will?
Yes. Yes. Yes, we have 2 toilets at the house now, and there will be 8 in the new house, so we're very excited about the little things.
8 toilets?
8. Yes, and our house knows when we have more than 6 kids, because the plumbing goes, the power goes.
Oh, I
So
don't even want to.
we are excited about it.
Only imagine them. Especially the boys. No, great. I mean, does anybody have any other questions? It's like the fastest. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we have a break. We're calling this, I probably should have taken an official recess vote, so ad hoc, we're doing that. We're back from that recess, and we are going to have Leiden Family Services and Mental Health Center. Chris?
Bruce Seawick and Brenda Brazilian.
Step right up.
Good evening. It's good to be here. Should I start talking?
Absolutely.
So we got a couple of good things going on at the SHARE program in Hoffman Estates, our inpatient substance abuse facility. We have added a medication-assisted treatment unit. So we now offer a Suboxone taper. So when people come in heroin withdrawal, we start them on Suboxone, and typically within 5 to 7 days, we taper them down, and then we can move them right into rehab. So that's pretty substantial, because I think one of the things that keep people from coming into treatment is the withdrawal symptoms of heroin. So we're able to start them immediately on Suboxone, taper them down, move them into rehab, and then on the way out, we have Vivitrol, it was initially used for treating alcoholism, but it helps with the cravings. So on the way out, we give them a shot, and then in 30 days you get another shot, and that helps with the cravings. So that's something we're very happy about. And of course, for those of you that aren't familiar with the uniqueness of SHARE, we're able to do everything in-house. So we're able to bring people in for detox. We have 3 16-bed units, 1 female, 1 male, and then the 16-bed male Medicaid-assisted treatment. And then, as I said, in Vivitrol injection, and then move them out for outpatient. So that's the big thing at SHARE that just happened earlier this year. We've taken on 2 apartments in our transitional living program, so we have additional slots for 4 people. We provide housing and transitional services for people with severe and persistent mental illness. And then something which we're expanding, we just renamed it, the supervisor renamed it, it's a school-based counseling, SBC. It was called Elmo's before, so we're in about a dozen schools providing counseling when people are referred to therapists. We have them in school, and then we can link them up into agency, because the ratio, as you're probably aware of, depending on the school, is anywhere from 1 counselor per 500 to 1,000, which is incredible when you think of 1 school counselor for that amount of students. So with the SBC program, we have a therapist there a couple hours a day, and people that need more than just your, run-of-the-mill, so to speak, therapy are able to get therapy, their therapy needs met there, and then link them directly up with the agency. So those are the 3 big items at our agency.
Is the Vivitrol new?
No, it's actually, you know what, it actually kind of resurfaced for heroin, but it was used to treat, not the withdrawal, but the cravings for alcohol. So it's kind of resurfaced and being used for heroin and.
Opiates, I assume.
Yes.
And do you work with our Marty Cook? Does he do referrals to you? And
Yeah, we get referrals from you.
yes. Vice versa. So, I didn't realize, so when people come in, you said it's, how many, 5 to 8 days with the Suboxone?
Right, so it's a taper, because there's a street value of Suboxone because.
Well, right, don't they then get addicted to,
Well, so that's why we use it as a taper. So they come in and they understand on the way in that this is part of helping with withdrawal, and once you're done with withdrawal, you go to rehab. So it's not like you can have a stash of Suboxone because that's something people can use. So that's, the medication-assisted treatment is very helpful in making people feel comfortable with that process.
oh, totally, so you're the step before rehab, like, because you can't
Right.
start rehab.
Right, so you can come in and immediately start on Suboxone and then position yourself for the rehab part of it.
And that is inpatient?
Yes.
All right, we also have, so we are seeing in other avenues a extreme shortage of psychiatrists, which I think you're saying as well, because you two are using an APN.
Yes.
And is that the reason why? I mean, you do have a psychiatrist.
We have a psychiatrist, so we have an APN for our children and adolescent that specializes in CNA psychiatry. I was talking to Richard a little bit before I came up here. That whole, even the face-to-face is kind of changing now. You're having telepsychiatry, I'm looking into teletherapy. It seems like the modalities are changing now, and you have to kind of adapt to what people are looking at, how to have their needs met. And, our APN does a very good job. And there is a shortage of psychiatrists and doctors and nurses. I mean, I was at a resource fair at River Edge, and they're offering $1,000 for employees for any nurse referrals. I mean, that's how tight the nurse market is too.
I know. I mean, the psychiatrist market is just absurd. I think the liability.
Exactly. I mean, you can make a lot more money with a lot less liability. That's the problem.
And then the nurse has shortage too. So the telepsychiatry is interesting. I mean, I do phone sessions with my person, so I've done telemedicine with with a regular doctor. Is that working in the telepsychiatry?
Yes, it is. It's working very well. We weren't sure how it was going to pan out, but there's no problems.
Also, it saves if a person's in crisis and, like, visually seeing is a good thing, I think. But
Well,
then they don't have to travel.
Right.
And you can see more people.
Right. It's more efficient. You don't have that, the travel time. It's just in real
It's just
time.
become ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay. No, I think it's great. So for us, you had 483. And you are just, for the public, one of the 3 agencies that picked up the, shall we say, slack when Maine Center.
It's hard to believe it's been 4 years now.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I feel like it's been longer.
Yes. In Illinois time, it's been
right? That really was only 4 years ago.
To 2015.
Right, so we split it between Light and Jocelyn, intern. So you have the same issues with this I mean, it's like good to know. I mean, not good to know, but no, I think you guys are doing a great job. Did you go up in,
There's been a 6% increase since last year with Maine Township clients.
right, but your funding request did not go up, so great, that's appreciated.
Well, we appreciate this, you know, we certainly need the help. As you're all aware, I'm sure the managed care did not turn out to be a very good story for the providers in the state of Illinois. We're owed over $600,000, and that includes straight Medicaid. So that's kind of ridiculous if you ask me, for providing services and saving lives and not getting paid for it for something that makes no sense, like, well, you know, it's not loaded right, or there's something wrong with the billing code. It's like, I really don't care. So without the townships like yourself, we'd be in trouble.
So you're currently owed $600,000?
As a whole, yes. And that's both sides, mental health and substance abuse. And it's not unusual. As a matter of fact, you know, we're doing the super rates now, and they're factoring into it, if you can believe this, at both the mental health side and the substance abuse side, we have one full-time employee who's devoted to trying to collect money from the managed care organizations. Can you believe that? I have somebody on my payroll, not just at my agency, full-time, just to do that. That's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Yes, for the Medicaid reimbursement rate, I have to hire a full-time person.
Oh, yeah. How long was our discussion today about the Medicaid billing? Yeah. It's insane.
It is.
Just completely insane. If there was, so our funds, do they go to, and, you know, both sides are equally worthy?
Right.
Do they go to both sides?
Yes, so that as needed, you know, the Maine Township people, yes. I mean, we get people from all over. Share is some,
Right,
we get people from all over the
but I mean, does
state.
it go to substance abuse?
Yes.
As well as the psychiatry, or psychiatric?
Well, there's a comorbidity, as you know, between mental
Right.
illness and substance abuse, so.
Right.
What percentage of the people you serve are Medicaid?
63%.
63? Okay, and reimbursement for Medicaid and
Is
state of Illinois
substandard.
is,
It doesn't cover the cost.
it covers what percentage would you say?
What would you say, Brenda? What would you say the cost of Medicaid covers, the actual cost percentage-wise?
I would need to 40%.
How much?
She was saying, be lucky if it's 40%.
Yeah, that sounds about right from the other agencies.
You know, I mean,
So you
something
get
is-
about 75% of your budget through either the state or what you get in grants and or Medicaid, right? About 75% or something?
Yeah, I mean, the last numbers I saw, that was from the year before, okay. But it's like upwards from 63% straight, you know, from Medicaid, MCOs, and that's a substantial part of the population. And not many people take Medicaid or manage Medicaid, or agencies are taking the ones that are paying better than most. And that makes it more difficult for people like ourselves that take everybody, because then they come to us.
Bruce, as far as your township funding, it looks like you received $380,000 altogether, of which Maine is $56,000. So between Hanover and Leiden, which make up the rest of it, it's about $324,000. Do you know approximately what the breakdown is for the amount Hanover supports versus Leiden?
It's in here.
Yeah, Hanover's 50,000.
It's comparable.
70.
Wait, Leiden
Well, that's what they-
Township gives them 270,000.
So when you said
The last
Hanover,
page, Rich.
Hanover,
Oh,
Maine.
they are.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
The, 6, oh, and Schaumburg is 37. And Leiden's your home. And this. So we are, like right on and I'm assuming that you guys do the SAMHSA or apply for SAMHSA grants and those types of
Yeah,
things.
they're very competitive.
I know.
Very competitive.
And very hard to get.
And very hard to get. I mean, the last one I looked at, they're going to award one grant in the state of Illinois. So you have to decide, is that worth your time? Out of all the effort, one agency is going to get it. And that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, we apply for grants as we can, needless to say.
Yeah, no. I think you guys really do a great job. Wow. It is a sad state of affairs. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much.
We appreciate your work.
Thank you. Nice to be appreciated.
Oh, no, at least we can, I like you. We really do. The next is Center of Concern. He needs no introduction. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Greg's going to come and answer the real tough questions.
Yeah, we're so tough.
Well, thank you so much for your support this past year. We had a very eventful year, helping Maine Township residents addressing unmet needs in our community. Our mission statement to provide housing solutions, support services, and counseling to older adults, persons with disabilities, and others so they can live independently, enabling them to live with independence with dignity, is more relevant than ever. With our aging baby boomer generation, rising costs of healthcare, a lack of affordable housing, and so many families separated by distance, making it more difficult to address challenges relating to aging. Last year, the center provided 20,000 hours of services to Maine Township residents and over 16,000 services, which was an increase of over 20% the last program year. Founded over 40 years ago, the center can be described most accurately as in 3 program areas: senior support, housing solutions, and community services. The increase in the service delivery last year was largely due to new or expanded partnerships, enabling us to reach more residents as well as introduce them to additional services. Our Memory Cafe, launched last December, complemented our long-standing Alzheimer's caregiver support group as part of our effort to build dementia-friendly communities. In fact, this program was so successful that we've recently expanded more Memory Cafe programs in the city of village of Niles. Also, our life enrichment donation-based lunch program for adults over 60 years of age increased by 50% last year, serving over 6,600 meals as part of a wonderful partnership with the Des Plaines Library. So this helps the library bring more patrons to their facility, and it helps us connect them to programs which help them overcome isolation, provides them with balanced nutrition, and also connects them to other resources. Also, our education workshops attract families impacted by challenges related to aging. We also are very active with fundraising events, social media, and publicity efforts to help build awareness of our important programs and services. The active calendar, especially this time of year. We're also so very fortunate to have our volunteer support, which accounted for $275,000 in donated volunteer hours this last fiscal year, helping us to assist more residents, reduce payroll expense, and offer positive opportunities to residents to serve their community. Particularly exciting is our new team board. Recently had a car wash. They also get involved with digital literacy, and in December they're also going to be helping us with the gift wrap program at a local mall here in the Maine Township, so that should be exciting. Other volunteer opportunities include our Community Service Day, which enables families to help older adults with services to help them stay in their homes, as well as our Adopt an Older Adult program, which will start shortly. Other highlights of this past year.
I'm sorry, what was that program? The one that helps them stay in their homes?
The Community Service Day is like yard work and window washing, and so they're programs that bring people together to help older adults in their local community. Also, we were able to launch the new older adult and housing solutions initiative to better serve our residents. We were selected to launch the first memory cafe in the Northwest Cook County, partnered with Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center in the latest education event, and solidified a collaboration with a local police department to pair officers with older adult clients to increase communication and foster a better understanding of older adult challenges and concerns. In this year's application, we're asking for additional funds to support our daily life enrichment older adults lunch program, which recently added additional services at the Nels Community Center, and we expect to add additional Saturday meals at the Niles Main Library Township as well. Lastly, I just wanted to make everyone aware that the funds that we receive from Maine Township are used solely for Maine Township residents, and that we're very unique in the sense that we offer services to people at several locations in Maine Townships, but we also bring our services into the homes of clients. So we're helping isolated older adults navigate aging and live healthier, happier lives. I apologize for my cold. Any questions?
Does, yes, I mean, these are probably, on behalf of residents. So do you have people that actually can go into the person's home to give them help in figuring out how to stay in the home versus putting the parent in a...
That's a big part of what we do. So our case managers start with...
What would it be? Which part of this would it be?
So it would be part of the senior support services. So they start with an in-home assessment, and they'll meet with the senior in their home, and they'll go through a lengthy intake process, and they'll address concerns that they may have, and then they'll link them to different services that we provide in-house, as well as sometimes refer them to other resources, including the ones that Maine Township offers here.
And you have a referral list of nurses, home nurses and things like that?
Well, we help people regardless of income, and typically people that we're helping are lower income or they don't qualify for mainstream benefits, but we do help people make those difficult decisions when they're trying to transition into assisted living facility, or if they're trying to find in-home health care, we can help them find that in an unbiased way. So that's a big part of what we do as well. Where as a nonprofit, we can direct them to a place based on their needs, so they can get effective solutions.
That's one of the biggest questions I get is in the residents. That's a big one. I mean, we have such an aging population.
And our housing solutions program, the people come to us on a regular basis with very serious hardships. If you break out our program activity, it's roughly about 2/3 is senior support, 1/3 is housing, and then a smaller percentage is community services. But the housing solutions is just based on a limited amount of resources. There's only so much you can help people with, but our services are continued for many years oftentimes. Some of you are aware of our home sharing program, where help people stay in their homes. We'll match them with a responsible adult, and they'll receive, it's typically about half what the market rate would be for a home, so that older adult is receiving some income.
That's a great.
As well as
like a roommate.
A companion. Pardon?
Like a roommate?
Yes. But they're very carefully matched. They're meant to be long-term arrangements. So that program is close to 30 years old. So the center has quite a history of helping people. So it's nice to...
How many, I'm just curious and then I'll stop, but how many people are in the home sharing? I mean, I'm not holding it to.
I know there were like over 100 people.
Wow.
They go, it's, and people will surface that we haven't, they've been in Natchez for many, many years. And so, and I don't want to belabor too much, but a lot of it is sort of intergenerational. Sort of a middle-aged person will be connected with an older person, and it's almost like they're connecting with the older generation. But because they're not related, they have a better, they have a better dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to ask Greg some questions now.
I have a question in your budget.
Under income, you have a line item that reads volunteer hours for $300,000. Can you explain that?
Sure. Well, we have volunteers that help on a daily basis in the daily office administration. We have volunteers that are community service volunteers that provide low-income tax preparation, legal counseling, both general legal as well as older adult trust, wills, estates, and so forth. We have volunteers that staff our daily lunch program. We have a whole another group of volunteers that are really not included in that now in our senior companion program. So it's really quite remarkable the volunteers we have. But probably more remarkably are the shoppers, friendly visitors, telephone reassurance on a daily basis. We'll have people calling, checking on the well-being of older adults. And then we have, of course, a chore housekeeping program that's mentioned in the application. So a lot of volunteer activities, and as well as the volunteers that help with our event, our fundraising events.
Do you cover Niles? I mean, I know, and the part of Niles that might not be made. This is not for the fund.
So it's not, Niles is, the part of Niles that's part of Maine Township is our service area for all of our services. But someone, for instance, like that was interested in home sharing, we have a larger service area. And so, as you might imagine, there's more people seeking home sharing arrangements than providing home sharing arrangements, so we give a little wider geography for that.
I think Trustee Carroll.
I just want to make an observation. The efforts that Center Concern puts forth in fundraising is phenomenal.
Oh, that is absolutely.
It's something that I hope all these other programs will look to as an example. So it appears that you've netted $80,000 over the last fiscal year in your fundraising. And I've experienced some of your fundraising events there, especially the last one was just out of this world.
Well, thank you. We're so fortunate with partnerships. I think people, once they learn about our mission, they hear how long we've been serving the community, they're eager to partner with us, and so that really makes a big difference. I mean, our lunch program would not be the success it is without the Des Plaines Library assisting us, and of course, the Maine Township support has helped us for many years to keep our head above water.
I just never thought I'd be dining and cocktailing at Pesci's. And I still have to go back and take a look at those poinsettias again. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, you're very generous. Appreciate it.
What would you say the total budget is for the lunch program?
It's pretty modest. Most of it is really buying the meals, so I think it's around over $58,000, $45,000 a year is what it is.
45,000. Okay. So you've doubled that in the last year, the attendance for the lunch program?
Yeah. So we've exceeded the goals that are set by age options, and so in the last year we've exceeded it.
Goals set by, what did you say, age options?
Age options helps us with the buying the meals for the program, and so we've exceeded our projected number of meals served.
Okay, so then you do 30, 40 a day?
We have a
5 days a week, and now, or it was 5 days a week, but now it's 6 days a week, because you're adding a Saturday lunch, is that what you're doing in Niles?
So we've already added a once a month lunch in Niles, but then next, in 2020, we're going to be adding,
And
is
that's
it once a month or twice a month on Saturday? Once a month on Saturday.
Okay, that's Niles Community Center? And then also the Niles Library?
Correct.
You got it both?
Niles Main Library.
And then at the community center as
The
well?
community center already began, so that's already in place.
Oh.
And that's in conjunction with our...
And that's on Saturday?
No, it's in conjunction with our memory cafe. So we have a second memory cafe that started at the Niles Community Center just in the last month.
Oh, okay.
We'll have a monthly lunch there as well. But the one on displays is Monday through Friday.
Right, okay. So aren't you serving Niles residents if they're showing up to the Niles Library or the Niles Community Center, or how do you know?
So Niles, it's Niles Main,
So there's, that could be part of Niles Township? Because we can only provide for Maine Township residents.
So that would just be a small part. That's just one day a month, and the other is going to start next in 2020. So this is just an additional, as far as...
So, and I know that it's to any, it's available to all persons 60 years of age or older and to their spouses regardless of age.
Correct.
And there isn't any, obviously you provide nutritional meals and that's well intended. But I don't think that taxpayers should be asked to shoulder something that I don't think is a proper function of government, to give free lunches to people that are 60 years or older.
Well, a lot of it is isolation too. The isolation that you're overcoming for people who don't have the wherewithal to
But
afford.
there's no criteria by which we're evaluating anybody can come, right, at 60 years. You mentioned that there's 12,000 people that are turning 60 years old every day, and people are, I mean, there's no criteria by which you make a determination.
Well, I
as to
think
who's able to come.
the positive part
And
of
I
it.
understand from people that have gone that there's repetitive people,
I
so
think
yes.
the positive part of the lunch program is it's a gateway for people to come and find other
I'm
services.
sorry, Laura, I can't hear what you're talking.
It's a way for people to come and find other services. Yeah, it's a donation-based lunch as well, so people.
It's $2, right? Or is that suggested donation?
Yeah.
Okay. So the cost is $45,000 annually. And you're asking for us specifically.
So that program is supported by Age Options, so that wouldn't come from Maine Township dollars.
Oh, the 45,000 is?
Yes.
Okay, so Age Options is funding that?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the nutrition program.
Oh, I did not realize that. But you said you're asking us to fund a request of $5,000 specifically for lunch with us.
But that doesn't cover the entire cost, that's just a portion of it.
Okay, and so what portion, because I know you had said I didn't realize I didn't think we were actually funding that last year, and you said we actually funded that as well. I mean, I've already spoken what I think about this, because I think it's, that could theoretically grow. As you said, there's 12,000 people turning 60, so if there's no criteria by which people can get a free lunch for 5 or 6 days a week, I would expect it to grow by 50%. And, though I understand that there's people in isolation, if there's no criteria by which we make that determination, I just don't think it's a proper use of government money, and I don't think I don't think it should fall on the shoulders of taxpayers to fund something that's not determined to be a critical need as compared especially to other things that we're evaluating, so.
Are you asking if the Age Options has a 300,000 or a percentage of the poverty level? Is that the question here? it doesn't have something like that.
Where they're asking for, the cover letter that he wrote specifically said that he's asking Maine Township for $5,000 to expand specifically with lunch with us, for free lunch that they provide to adults that are anybody over
Well, I don't think they're
60.
giving it to rich adults. I mean, I think. it's
To
for-
what?
To rich adults. I don't think that's what.
To rich adults?
No, I said, I don't think they are giving it to wealthy adults.
There's no criteria by which.
I think that if you.
It said anybody's welcome, and that if your spouses are younger than 60, they can come as well, or, you know, their family is.
I think it might be similar to the food pantry discussion we had. It's sometimes.
I guess it's important to point out, as a nonprofit, so we have the space where the lunch is provided to the agency. We're able to pay a very low pay scale and as well as we're able to rely on volunteers to deliver this life enrichment program. So the number of people that it impacts is substantial.
Okay, so you have 45,000 that's funded through other donors, through other source. That's not
But
something.
most of it is passed through, it's going to pay for the meals.
It's a pass-through?
Primarily it's buying the meals to serve to them.
Okay, so.
So the award grant is 45,000. And so of that, HOP provides about 20,000. And so the Center Concern and our donors provide the rest of that. And so we're asking for assistance with $5,000 to help cover the expenses of Maine Township residents, older adults who may be attending. And we can get you like exact figures, who's coming, like an income scale. Most of the folks who are coming aren't wealthy. Most of them are more low income. This just helps them deal with isolation a little bit and get out. So, I don't know if that answers.
Is there some thought that could be put into, because my concern is for the funds to go to people who actually need it. And there are those that will say, hey, look, you know, you're saying it's free, you know, and they'll even say, hey, look, I'm a taxpayer too, so I might as well step on up and take my free lunch, and then that takes a lunch away from someone in need. So I'm wondering if you could consider maybe looking toward, maybe just taking under advisement to look to some form of criteria or pre-reservation way of doing it, because there are so many people in need that do need that. And there are those, you know, that will take advantage. They'll say, hey, look, you said it's free, and they'll come on in and they'll take it. You know, then it's back to the house with the 2 cars in the garage and the whole thing.
So we try not to say it's free. So we try to remind folks that it's donation-based. So, and we strongly encourage people when they come to give what they can. And it's part of, so the grant, Age Options is a federal grant that they receive. It's part of the Older Americans Act. And part of that, they can't discriminate based on age.
Well, I understand that.
And so,
I'm talking about financial needs. And so whether maybe you can do a pre-reservation rather than just saying, hey, everybody off the street and stick a sign in the lawn, maybe we can work on some type of way. There's got to be a solution, because it takes a meal away from someone in need. And someone's going to intentionally doing this, saying, hey, look, I'm entitled to it as well.
And it isn't a drop-in, they have to call at least a day ahead and set there. But it's pretty remarkable. I mean, I was there for Halloween, and they take so much pride in the daily event. But I was speaking with a 94-year-old woman that comes to there's several people in their 90s that come to that program. And so it really gives them a sense of community and a sense of belonging.
But if you can consider that, I would like to consider, you know, what my concern is. Because I'd rather go to a 94-year-old in need than a 94-year-old that is leaving the building, and their daughter's driving them, and they're getting in the Mercedes and off they go. I'd rather have it go to someone who's, because we've got so many who do need it.
Thank you, yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Beer Services. Grants.
Maureen McDonald.
Oh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maureen McDonald. I'm the Executive Director at Peer Services. We are the substance abuse treatment and prevention agency serving the northern suburbs. We're the safety net provider, meaning nearly all of our clients are low income. And we do have a scale that determines that what people need to contribute towards their treatment. We've been in business for 44 years and serving the further west part of this area, including Maine Township, for at least the last 20 years since we opened our office in Glenview. Our goal really is to provide hope and pathways out of danger for teens, young adults, working people, parents, families, and even grandparents who come to us for services. The services that we provide result in decreased use, increased participation in work and school, and increased social support. And for each person in recovery, the combination of those things that's needed may be different. But those are the central goals. Last year, we served 185 Maine Township residents. That was up 31% from 141 the year before. And we're happy to continue to serve your residents. We're glad that there is a certain our relationships with different providers who refer to us, our relationships with the township, you all refer people to us, but also there's a certain word of mouth that develops over time, and I think we're starting to see that grow and build. Unfortunately, the challenges that we're facing around substance abuse aren't lessening. The biggest challenge in the community relates to alcohol. And then, as you all have been reading and hearing a lot about vaping, that is a serious issue, especially with teens and young adults. And then we have the impending legalization of recreational marijuana use starting January 1st. So we know that that is all going to sort of have a cumulative impact, right? Because nobody does just one thing, generally speaking. And so a lot of our efforts are on raising attention in the community to restricting access, right? It's not legal for teens to possess alcohol or tobacco or marijuana, right? The laws are very clearly written to be the same under 21. And so, but of course, convincing teenagers of that is an interesting challenge, but one that's on all of us right now. When I spoke to you last year, I was sharing a story about an older adult who, at the age of 88, had realized that after he lost his wife, his own drinking had accelerated, and he had come into treatment with us at the age of 88. And I remain inspired by him. He is still our client, and at the age of 90, and so I'm very grateful that he continues to engage with us. But one of the really inspiring stories I heard just recently was about a teenager who worked out how to stop vaping. And it's, different. We emphasize don't start, but then once you start, what's the pathway out? And depending on what substance a person is vaping, they can become very quickly very dependent on nicotine because it delivers a high amount in each vaping cartridge. Or certainly if they're vaping THC, that can become dependent on that. And so there was a young man who was caught in school with a vaping cartridge, and he went through a court process, and then he came to us for 4 sessions in the spring. And then right as soon as school started this fall, he got caught again. And I think the second one got his attention. Because our clinicians followed up with him and with his mom, and this young man said, and his mother confirmed, that He decided to stop hanging out with the people he had been vaping with. He decided to talk to his mom a lot more about the stress that he was experiencing. He's spending more time at home, and he had stopped. And we were able to report that back to the court. And it was his second instance, so it mattered, you know, that he made a better choice the second time. And so those are the kind of successes we can see, you know, if we just get the right person with the right issue at the right time. And we're happy to contribute to the community in that way.
I remember last year at the funding session, I think you were talking to my CAF, Terry from that. I just wondered if you partnered up, because she obviously sees a big need in specifically, you know, vaping.
Yeah, we were on the same night, the same session, and so we had a couple follow-up conversations. We did wind up actually connecting and working together, and Terry seemed to think, you know, she had what she needed to do and had expanded what she was offering, and we were happy to support her, but we'll still be happy to work together and support the schools however we can. Yeah.
But you're involved in the main schools then too?
So we've gotten some, we had another request from the schools this year for like, how can we help them? And I think they're struggling with sort of what's the best methodology for them across the 3 high schools, and certainly the financial constraints. So we haven't hit on that together yet, but we certainly take referrals from the schools, and we're happy to work with them.
Well, our law office used you, actually.
I'm sorry?
Our law office referred,
Thank you.
I mean, a client was referred to you through Maine South. It was Maine South.
Okay.
And very successfully, I might add. And 2 different. One was a client and one was a friend. So the schools are actually, and also I do represent a lot of kids that get in front of the city council as opposed to, you know, for
With like a ticket, an ordinance violation.
Right, especially with the marijuana or the paraphernalia. And they all, you're like the top on the list.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Of the city attorneys.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Or if you know, instead of paying the ticket, you would do, you know, and they generally want to resist, like sometimes, but, you know,
Well,
and then they actually like it.
Yeah, and it's a better choice for them to avoid having a more significant record, even though juvenile records are, you know, become sealed when you're an adult. It's still better to not have one.
Yeah.
And plus, if you can get some services instead. So we actually are going.
And I encourage the parents, instead of paying the ticket, to go to you.
Right. Yeah, and then the parents who come to us for the FACS classes, they're often like, I don't want to be here, and they're mad at their kid, but by the time it's over,
they hate that.
Yeah. By the time it's over, we hear from a lot of them, I'm really glad I'm here. I never would have had this conversation with my kid, and that's, you know, that's part of what turns this whole thing around. So we're happy to participate.
One question I had, and I know your Evanston location does the DUI. I don't know if you're the person that I get this conversation with. Does the Glenview location now do that?
Yep. We
Oh my
have.
God. Seriously? Really?
Yeah.
That's just great to know. Okay, for court purposes?
Yeah, we do the Secretary of State's DUI risk reduction education.
Yeah.
The 4-session program. We have, actually the person who's there has been doing, she's our most experienced person. She's been doing this for 4 years. And then we have the individual and group counseling sessions. So depending on the
If
additional
they get
hours.
supervision, they can go to Glenview instead of all the way to Evans.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's newer.
Newer. I think, so I've been up here now, this is my second, so 2.5 years. And I think it was relatively new when I started.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Justin Sweeney?
You had mentioned that in fiscal year 19, 50% of your costs were unreimbursed for Maine Township clients. So is what you're saying there, like you were allocated $9,500, that you basically are out of pocket another $9,500?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that and then some other, if we take sort of the whole cost of care and then line up everything that we've been paid for those residents, yeah, it's It's
it more than that?
significant.
Or is it
Yeah.
just-
Yeah, I mean, we're still only asking you all for 15,000, so, if we paint up the picture of our whole situation, you all would be like, how are you people in business, But we try to keep our costs very lean, our administrative costs very lean, and just stick to paying the counselors and seeing people, and that's how we make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for me? Well, thank you all again.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
All right. And we are up to the Justice Center. They have Susan.
Susan Resco and Michael Schultz.
Thank you all for having us tonight. I realize it's a late night, so I appreciate your time. And equally importantly, I appreciate your partnership. So just to review, 4 years ago, Richard approached us when the Maine Center closed and asked if we could bring psychiatric services to Park Ridge. And through a lot of hard work, we've been able to make that work. So the services that we provide to Maine Township residents in Northfield include psychiatry, therapy, case management, supported employment. And then here at Mainstay, 1 day a week, we have psychiatric services. And then we leverage both our back office in Northfield and the staff here at Mainstay to support that. So I know that there's some questions about the services we're providing here, and I will address that. I want to, though, put it in context. So 88% of the services that we provide Maine Township residents are actually done in Northfield. Only 12% are done here in Park Ridge. And over the past 4 years, those services have gone from, and I apologize, the slide that I provided today for FY16, that number was incorrect. We provided 1,100 hours of service to Maine Township residents 4 years ago, and now it's over 2,500. So imagine if your services here at the township more than doubled, the need for your services more than doubled, and your funding base went down. What do you do? How do you manage that? So some of the ways that we've managed that are trying to become a lot more efficient with the dollars. Just again, here in Park Ridge, we provide 300 hours of services a year. In Northfield, it's 2,200. Here in Park Ridge, we tend to see the clients that are less severe. Those with some chronic and very debilitating mental health conditions are referred to Northfield because we have a full medical facility there. We have larger staff and we're better able to support those clients. Here we provide psychiatric services. In Northfield, psychiatric therapy, case management, supported employment, and community support. The net cost to us here in Northfield are about $25,000. That does not include the in-kind contributions that Mainstay is providing. And the net costs up in Northfield are $113,000.
Can I just interject? The amount that, is that why there's a $35,000 additional on your budget sheet that Mainstay is providing?
Yes.
Okay, so it offsets the costs that would be a lot, right? The $25,000 you mentioned.
No, it doesn't offset that. That's an in-kind.
Okay, so
yeah. So hard cost, $25,000.
Okay.
So as you heard from Leiden, and I'm sure you've heard from other provider of psychiatric services, this shortage of psychiatry is just overwhelming. We lost a psychiatrist to retirement, Dr. Lynn, who is coming here. We simply are not able to find a psychiatrist to replace that person. And so therefore we introduced an advanced practice nurse, Dr. Frick. She's a doctorate in nursing. She came here today for the first day. We have worked with Dr. Frick for the past 4 months. She's a fellow, she's doing her fellowship and just graduated from Johns Hopkins and was working at the Loyola undergraduate student service, the nurse for the Loyola University. A very, very high quality provider, and we can say that because she did her fellowship with us. So what's the difference between a psychiatrist and an advanced practice nurse? Both have full prescribing authority. So all of the medicines that an MD can prescribe, so can an advanced practice nurse. Part of her license is to work in collaboration with the medical doctor, and she is working in collaboration with the doctor that we have at Joslin. In the face of severe shortages, it's one of the 2 ways that the field is trying to innovate. So the use of advanced practice nurses and the use of telepsychiatry are really the 2 ways that we're trying to get at this shortage. So
I was the one that had expressed the reservations, and I'm totally thrilled with what I met today.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that it goes above and beyond. I mean, the person you gave us goes above and beyond what the requirements for an advanced practice nurse are, which we do appreciate.
We're very pleased with her, and I would like to say that I would like you to work with her, and if there's any concerns, we certainly want to address that, but we would not.
Her resume is unbelievable.
Yes, it is.
But she's also a doctor. I mean, and I think the program here, I mean, let's just cut to the chase here. I think the program here is great. And so we serve 100 clients, and like that collaboration is very important to, when, again, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
4.
When we split up the...
4 years ago.
God, it's so but then when you were like the only people that offered to do that, you know, that meant a lot.
Thank you.
So I wanted to keep that going. It was some of the numbers, and now I understand them, and so, I mean, my worry had been the APN, and yeah, no, there is a shortage of psychiatrists.
Well, I understand that your responsibility to the taxpayers to keep costs down and to manage that. I have a business background, I completely respect that, but the fact of the matter is that the service hours that we are providing have gone up significantly over the past 4 years, and these services are expensive. So if you are finding that you need to make further cuts, I would like to make some recommendations. Rather than to cut funding, let's be more creative with the way that we're utilizing the funding. There's a couple of ways we can do that. We can cut back on the number of hours here in Park Ridge. We can also cut back, or we could actually provide a case manager to do a lot of the work that Richard and his staff are doing.
You told me about that.
And we can bill Medicaid for that, whereas you all don't have a Medicaid license. So we would like to work creatively with you. We cannot continue to provide the same level of service, though, if we are in a perpetual declining state of funding, because the service hours are going up so significantly.
So the service hours here, though, are cheaper, right? Because we're not involving the back end that Northfield is.
No, that's factored in both. It's just that
if you want to do the in-kind, that would be great. And that was the first I heard of it. So if you do that and bill it through Medicaid, so does that account for, in other words, you know, because it was changed, it had been 115, I think you were allotted 103. So would that work?
So we need to do the math. We've been thinking about this since our meeting on Friday, and we've been talking and trying to figure out a way. We came up with this idea today. So we need to do the math, but I think it would significantly decrease the amount of work that your staff is doing, which could be reallocated to more therapy or, and then it would provide someone that's doing this full-time, as opposed to...
And then you can bill Medicaid.
Yes.
Whereas we can't.
Right.
And we're using employee hours that, no, it would be a win-win. That is a win-win. And then if we can see our way to 115,
Thank you. We really do want to work with you. It's a very important relationship to us.
I've had more people tell me that the fact that we have somebody here is really...
Well, not everybody can come to Northfield.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we can continue to say that we are the only place that offers psychiatric services to the high-rung level and to prescribing. I mean, there is no...
And this is the population that needs it the most.
Right.
Because when you receive treatment, you're more likely to be able to stay employed, stay in school, and there just aren't any other options.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, Susan. I want to thank you so much for the last 4 years and your partnership and sticking with us through staffing changes and all that. I had an opportunity to connect with most of Dr. Frick's clients after their appointments today, and the initial feedback was very positive. We used words like wonderful, excellent, knowledgeable, on time. And one person who came with a relative said that the relative doesn't usually like providers, but this person liked her. So they want to start out on a good foot.
Give her that feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I mean, she's just great.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and last but not least is claims.
Lisa Shafira.
Good evening, everyone. Please excuse me, I do have a little bit of a cough, so I brought some water with me just in case I choke up. As I go through and you guys have questions, I'll attempt to answer them. Please understand I've been with WINS for 3 months, but I feel like in the 3 months I've done a pretty good job of wrapping my head around everything that we do. With that said, WINS, as I know, has been in partnership with Maine Township for more than 2 decades, and WINS is now entering our 35th year of services. And in those 35 years, we've accomplished quite a bit, which, as I kind of go through all of our history, it's really exciting to read. Within the first 20 years, we opened up a continuum of housing of 17 houses, one which is here in Park Ridge, that included permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, independent housing, which then, as that time went through, we obviously realized we needed to help people, help these women and children, and now men and the LGBT community that are fleeing domestic violence situations a little bit more on the front end. And so in 2005, we opened up our first emergency shelter in the northwest suburbs. Going forward, we just opened up our first emergency shelter in the city in 2016. So with that, we have obviously made our place in the Northwest, in the Cook County culture and county, just showing that we're here to serve everyone that needs our services. As they go through the emergency shelter, the safe houses, our services that are provided are exactly that. They're a continuum of all services that they come in. Some of them come in with nothing, some come in with 1 child, some come in with 8. It doesn't matter. There's no discrimination. At any time that someone is admitted that they need help fleeing domestic violence situation, we accept them through that. There is no income base that is a requirement, because oftentimes, you know, the families that come into our services may have their clothes on their back, but that's about it. I've had a chance to meet several of our clients, and they're quite impressive. At our Purple Tie Ball recently, we had a woman who was a refugee and also escaping domestic violence, and during that situation, she became pregnant with her abuser's child. And now she has gone on and she has finished her master's level of schooling. She's going on to study neuroscience. So it was just really quite impressive to hear her story and to hear her on the other end of what could have been a really tragic story. Wings has been, as I said, we've been in this area, in the Park Ridge area, for more than 2 decades. We have served on an average of 750 clients every year, providing an estimate around 26,000 nights of service. And as I mentioned, that includes everything that you can think of to maybe the minimal, whether it's one night. They can stay up to 90 days of shelter in our suburban safe house. They can stay up to 120 days of nights of service in the city. I truly cannot explain what the difference is. But to that, through those nights of service, they receive free warm meals every day. They receive clothing, all-in-kind donations, whether they come from individuals or corporate sponsors. They also receive counseling, which is independent, family, child, group therapy. And then, of course, just living quarters throughout the house. We go through great lengths to make sure that despite that the family is there during a tragic situation, that they can feel safe and that they can feel at home. We go to great lengths to make sure the security is set. We have I don't even know the number of cameras that we have in each safe house. And they're on the outside and they're on the inside and we've also gone to the fact, I know this was in the past few years, of making sure that you not only have to buzz to get in the front door, but you also have to buzz to get into the second door to actually get into the house, you know, just for an extra layer of security. It has been brought up that we would, you know, potentially have a security guard on staff, you know, just to add that one more layer. But we feel really strongly that although that would add perhaps an extra layer of safety, it would also just add that layer of confidentiality at risk. And also, if you're coming from a violent situation, I don't know that seeing a security guard sometimes is the best scenario. But Wings has been a staple in this area, and I am happy to answer any questions. I'll leave it at that.
For being there 3 months, you did a great presentation.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to also note that your fundraising efforts are unbelievable.
Thank you.
You have a total gross revenue of about 2.7 and an out-of-pocket expense of about 300,000, netting 1.8 million plus.
We have,
and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 actual named functions, and then the miscellaneous for 50,000. Is that other functions or that's donated? That's other.
It's other miscellaneous functions. You know, for example, just 2 weeks ago, a small organization came to us and said, "We want you to be our beneficiary of a silent auction. Is that okay?" And I think on that one, we did no work to it. I think we gained like $12,000. So yes, sir. And we also, within that budget, you should see we just opened up our 4th resale shop.
That was my next question.
Okay, yes.
Because you had closed a couple, right? So they're all reopened?
No, we only had lost one a couple years ago due to an electrical fire. We have 3 in the northwest suburbs and 1 on the south side of the city.
Oh, great. And they're doing good?
Yeah, they're actually doing really great.
I have a ton of stuff for them.
We have our logistics.
Or do I have to bring?
No, you can bring anything you want. We have a logistics center in Elk Grove Village, and we have an amazing army of volunteers that go through it and sort it. And to be quite honest, when I first came here, I came from obviously a different nonprofit doing child welfare, but to this, and I'm impressed of just the labor and the volunteer hours that we have to take care of that particular arm of our agency. Thank you. If I were to, did I tell, if I can remind you perhaps?
Sure.
Since it didn't seem like you had too many more questions.
Very thorough application, so don't ever get upset.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that as well. The reason why I wanted just to expand, I feel like when I was in it, I got a speeding ticket probably years ago and I got let go of it and I had to go to the court and I was like, but no, I wanted to plead my case. He's like, you're good. So that's how I feel right now. So I apologize for that. But the reason why...
It's like when I tell my clients not talking.
Exactly. But I just want, because I was obviously, as I was coming here, I was trying to think of questions that you might have. And again, I don't want to take much more of your time tonight. As you can probably obviously see, we asked for a little bit more this year than you gave us for the past 3 years. And you're like, wait a minute. But the reason why that is because of the service that we do provide to the Maine Township clients. On average, we're serving 20 to 25 Maine Township clients with an approximate nights of service of 300 nights of service.
They actually asked for the same amount.
Same amount.
We just, they've given you less.
Okay.
Are we missing something?
10,000.
Yeah, no, I had asked for 10,000 and last year we given. Right, we asked for it last year, but we only got 5,800. And so I'm just maybe suggesting why, emphasizing why we should have that.
I see. I didn't mean to.
I don't know what you were saying at the end. Could you?
Wait, trustee Johnson.
Yeah, of course. I was just stating that, you know, over the past, I'm asking for that amount again. Obviously, I don't know what my predecessor had to say, but it's clearly the need is there, unfortunately, for the Maine Township residents. Each year, we've averaged around 300 residents as 300 nights of service of shelter on an average. It was 312 in the 17 to 18. It was 267 last year, and right now we're at 53 nights of service. For the past 2 previous cycles, it was around 18 to 25 clients each year, which it doesn't sound like a lot in theory, but once you start adding up the nights and then you add up, you know, all of the hundreds of counseling hours that go with that and just other supportive services, it does completely exceed the 5,800, the previous 4,600 the year before. So although of course we're extremely grateful for your continued service, as I mentioned in the very beginning, you guys have served us for more than 20 years and we're grateful for that. But the need is there, unfortunately, and so if there's any way that that can increase, that would be awesome.
One of the reasons it had decreased at some point was because they had asked to build a partition. They wanted it for a capital improvement.
Oh, no, no, this is just for direct services.
Right, so that's, you know, direct service, yeah.
Awesome.
Anybody else? All right.
All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion for adjournment. Second. I make a motion in a second. All in favor?